chance, have you ever wondered about those electronic price tags that suddenly seem to have different prices when you walk by? Well, today we're going to do some learning about them. Let's find out about what's really happening with those electronic price tags.
This apple and this apple are the exact same, except for one thing. I only paid $1.29 for this apple, but for this one, you paid nearly 3 times that. Not because yours is any better, it's not organic, and I didn't get mine on sale. These are exactly the same, but the algorithm decided that you would pay more than me. Let me explain.
Listen, folks, your milk might start having a rush hour price to it.
These price tags started updating right in front of me.
Just stick it to your customers just a little bit more.
What a wild concept.
Carnegie, Rockefeller, and Vanderbilt. What do they all have in common? They owned monopolies. Carnegie was the king of steel, Rockefeller was the king of oil, and Vanderbilt was the king of railroads. These guys focused all of their time and money on one thing, and that was dominating their industries. As their businesses grew, they were able to effectively crush any competition and choose whatever price they wanted to charge. And they were pretty much untouchable. But in 1890, a senator from Ohio formed a bill that would allow the government to step in. This bill, also known as the Sherman Act, only had 2 sections. Section 1 made price fixing illegal, and Section 2 made it a crime to monopolize or attempt to monopolize an industry. As you can imagine, when the government passes a law that goes against the richest people in the country, they usually find creative ways around it. So in 1914, the government had to pass the Clayton Act, which was specifically made to ban practices like price discrimination and exclusive dealing agreements. It also created the Federal Trade Commission to enforce all those rules. But even with the FTC and the Sherman Act today, things aren't really working like they should.
A fancy way of saying your groceries are going to start acting like airline tickets.
So let's play a game to really understand what we're dealing with. Here we have 2 grocery stores, Dave's and Willie's. To keep things simple, let's pretend they each sell the same thing. Both stores sell their apples for $3 a piece. Customers don't really have a preference, so they just shop wherever their heart desires. But Dave decides that he wants to make a little bit more money, so he lowers his price to $2.50. For the next week, the majority of customers start shopping at Dave's for their apples because they're cheaper. But as soon as Willie catches on to this, he lowers his price to $1.99. Again, all the shoppers follow the lower price and move back to Willie's.
But this can only go for so long. As you can imagine,
this could just continue indefinitely, and that's why it's called a race to the bottom. This is the ideal scenario for us because companies are forced to compete for the lowest price to attract the most customers. However, after all this back and forth, both Willie and Dave are now making way less than they did when both of their prices were $3. If they could get together and create a plan, they could both raise their price to $5 and make way more because customers have nowhere else to go for their apples. But that would be considered collusion, and that's illegal according to the Sherman Act. But is it illegal if it's not humans doing the collusion and instead it's the algorithm? And what if the algorithm didn't just know what everyone else was charging, but it also knew everything about you? We're gonna get
So it's collusion with extra steps that the law has not caught up with in black and white. It's finding another workaround because it's not strictly written into the law. They're going to say it's perfectly fine because the law doesn't account for this, and the government has not basically caught up to technology because we have a bunch of fucking 80-year-olds sitting in Congress making laws about technology that they don't have a sweet fucking clue about how it even works.
To that, but I have something else to show you first. Exchange traded funds were built in the 90s, and when you invest in one, you get what you get. You can't customize it, and there's only about 4,000 total options in the United States, and sometimes you may not want to invest in some of the companies inside of it. But what if I told you there was another option? Our sponsor, Public, just launched something called Generated Assets, and it brings AI into investing in a way I've honestly never seen before. Here's how it works. Say I've got an idea to build an index of companies that are actively investing in American manufacturing. Previously, I'd either have to go individually study all the stocks and individually invest in them, but now I just head over here. All I need to do is type in my idea. Then Public's AI sends out a swarm of agents that scan every single US stock, evaluates them, and instantly builds a custom index around my investment idea. And this is the coolest part. Not only do I get a report that shows exactly why each stock was included, but I can even backtest my idea against the S&P 500. So it's not just some random guess.
They're trying to make day trading great again. again.
have performed against the S&P 500 over the last 10 years, for example. And beyond just generated assets, Public lets you invest in stocks, bonds, options,
That's a
and
good
crypto
question. Like, how
all in
badly
one
does
place.
this one
If you have
hallucinate?
investments on
Yeah,
other
that's an
platforms,
excellent
Public is
question.
even offering an uncapped 1% match when you transfer them over. So if you want to build a portfolio that actually reflects your thoughts and ideas, visit public.com/grant.
And again, who's to say that this AI won't dig in just like what he's about to talk about with these price tags, and then also basically give you trades based on your like social media or whatever, and give you wrong information based on that to basically benefit someone else. Yeah. I would not trust AI to be making these stock choices.
Let's take a look at this chart. It's a simple concept most of us learned in school. Here you have a line showing the supply, and here is the demand. The point where these lines cross is the optimal price an object should be. As the demand goes up, the price goes up. As the demand goes down, the price goes down. This used to be the main...
Theoretically. That's theoretic. Theoretically. Because, as we all know, in the modern day, when the prices go up, they stay up. Prices don't come back down anymore. Now businesses are operating on, if we can raise the price, we're going to keep the price there, and it's only going to go up from there, and it will never come back down again. So unfortunately, that chart is basically, that chart has basically been tossed away in the modern age. In the modern age, it's how high can we get the price before people will revolt, and then we'll stop there for a while, let it sit and marinate for a while, and then after 6 months or a year, we're going to bring the price up even more, and people are going to be able to say fuck all because everybody is upping the price like that. And no matter where they turn, the price is going to be up, and they're forced to pay that because they have no alternatives.
way of pricing goods, but ever since we started carrying these around, things have changed. Airplane tickets were some of the first things most of us noticed. Depending on what time of year you were buying them or when the trip was planned for, it might be more expensive or less expensive. This is what's called dynamic pricing. It's the reason Ubers cost more during rush hour and why flights cost more during spring break. Dynamic prices are set by non-customer specific variables. These are things that are determined without any customer data, but as we've started to open our lives up more and more to data collection, we've pretty much opened Pandora's box and allowed...
No, I fully appreciate that he's talking about dynamic pricing now. That's what he's talking about now with dynamic pricing. I'm talking about the traditional method of supply and demand. I like the traditional supply and demand that's taught in all economics classes has kind of gone out the window because it's now no longer about supply. It's no longer about the demand. It's all about how much the price can get jacked up arbitrarily until you basically have pushed the customer to the breaking point where they will not accept that and actively seek out alternatives or just abandon the product in question if the price gets too high. And when you hit that tipping point, many companies, retailers will, we'll keep the price there, keep it there for a while, and then a year later we're going to increase the price under an arbitrary excuse of, well, the supply is just getting more difficult, so we have to raise the prices. It's not our fault. It's just that the cost for the item has increased, so we have to increase our pricing to make money, even though every year all of these companies are recording record-breaking profits year after year after year. It's all about pleasing the stockholders, not about anything having to do with actual cost of demand of their source their source products. That myth has basically been put by the wayside, that their source products are costing more and therefore they have to insanely jack the prices up. It's all about pleasing the stockholders and making sure that they have a yearly report for their shareholders of, quote, record-breaking prices, unquote. That is where the drive is. It's not about simply making a profit, because they could make a profit with a lower price point on their items, but they can't make a record-breaking profit. And if they don't make a record-breaking profit, the stockholders will revolt and their stocks will go down. So they have to record literal record-breaking profits every year to keep the shareholders happy, because the shareholders will not be happy with simple, we've made profit. We've made money, therefore you've made money. No, they have to say we've made record-breaking money. Therefore, you are making
It's all about
record-breaking
fucking
stock
their
prices.
customers in the booty hole.
No, it's all about pleasing the stockholders. The fucking the customer in the ass is a side benefit. It's 100%, it's about their shareholders. They need to please their shareholders with that record breaking. Otherwise, the shareholders will vote and they'll sell off their stocks, and their stock price will tank. Because shareholders will not be satisfied with we made profit.
Started to open our lives up more and more to data collection, we've pretty much opened Pandora's box and allowed companies to take complete control of our spending. If we return back to the Sherman Act, you'll remember that price collusion is considered illegal. For something to be considered collusion, there needs to be an agreement to fix prices between multiple parties. But that agreement doesn't need to be said, written, or even directly agreed on. It could be something as simple as a wink. For example, if Dave and Willie, our grocery store owners, are out golfing one day and Dave says, "Man, the price on these apples is way too low." Then they both go and raise the prices the next day. That's considered illegal collusion. In other words, you don't need a direct agreement at all. You just need to prove that they are no longer acting independently. That leads us to the problem we're having today. And in order to explain this, I think we need to order some groceries.
Yeah.
Now, Instacart has been getting some heat lately. In a recent investigation, Consumer Reports found that grocery store prices were completely different for each customer, sometimes as much as 23%. And most of us know Instacart because of their app and being able to simply order our groceries instead of walking around the aisles of a grocery store, but they are also the leading software that grocery stores rely on. I mean, just think about it. Instacart had over 250 million orders in the first 3 quarters of 2025 alone. That's hundreds of millions of data points that they can compile and sell to the grocery stores to improve their efficiency. Because it's a digital storefront, there aren't any price tags and they can update things in real time. They even acquired Eversight in 2022, which is an AI company designed to optimize pricing, promotions, and discounts. But that
Look. So they got AI built into it that can basically, when you download the app onto your phone, the app accesses all of your social media, accesses everything about you, and when you open up the Instacart app to order something, the AI is going, "Oh, this person orders this kind of product a lot. We're going to up the price on that product because they ordered a lot and we know they're going to order it, so we're going to make more money off it by upping the price." And pretending like, oh, it's been like that all the time. Yeah, this is where AI is evil. Evil!
optimization isn't for the customers.
Yeah, basic, kind of sort of honey for groceries.
According to Instacart, the tools they've built with Eversight can increase grocery store sales by 1 to 3% and profit from additional sales by 2 to 5%. All of this being driven by an algorithm that is not only testing and updating prices and discounts in real time, but it's also using our information.
Ordering from ATB or Walmart sites for delivery and not Instacart, honestly, it's not going to matter. Because if Instacart's doing it and getting away with it, how long do you think it's going to be before places like HEB or Walmart integrate that AI into their sites also? It's not that all of the businesses are going to be doing this. It's not just Instacart. I would imagine a lot of businesses are already doing it, just not obviously. And pretty soon, all of them are going to be doing it. Because why? Because it's easy to integrate the AI in, and it's going to jack up the prices, which is going to make them more profit. This is like it. Instacart is only the start, and it will be in every facet of online shopping
Against us, which brings us back to our previous point on dynamic pricing. If you remember, dynamic pricing is based on non-customer specific variables. But to do what Instacart was doing, you need customer data like where they live and what they do for work, otherwise known as surveillance pricing. It is important to note that as of December 22nd, 2025, Instacart did announce that they are immediately ending all price tests and use of Eversight technology to run those price tests, but they are still allowing tests on promotions and discounts. Now, surveillance pricing really caught on thanks to social media.
So how are they integrating it in a way that is hidden from the customer? How are they integrating this AI in a way that is not obvious. Like, did they basically rip the AI out, and now that's integrated directly into the app, and they're saying, oh yeah, we're not using them anymore, but we now have our own.
As we've shared more of our lives online and taught the algorithms what type of things we like to look at and buy, we're giving them the keys to our brains and how we shop. Not just that, but the brands have also found new ways to collect even more data, and they've gotten really good at hiding it from us. All those loyalty programs you belong to, they're not really designed to reward your loyalty with free drinks and fries. Instead, they're just the bait to extract even more information from you. When you download
you don't use the rewards programs. The whole purpose of the rewards programs is data scraping. That's literally the entire purpose behind them. They will give you a crumb, and then they'll scrape the fuck out of your data.
Evil. EVILLLLLLLLLLLLLLL.
Yeah. That every single you use rewards for McDonald's and gas, but guess what? It's scraping your data. Both of those rewards programs are scraping your data. They're figuring out, they're figuring out what do you buy often, and they're using that against you as the customer. And they're also selling that data to data brokers. All of these rewards programs are not only scraping data for themselves, but they're also selling this data to data brokers for them to use against you for targeted ads, or they can sell it to, they can sell it to, that's where the scam artists get this information. Like they get the scammers from India will purchase data about your rewards programs from data brokers that get this data, and that's why you get the scam calls say, yes, I'm calling from blankety blank rewards program. Did you just purchase this with your rewards? No? Oh, well, we've got to do this cancellation. Please fill out this form. It's all cyclical here. It's all a self-feeding, it's all snake eating its own tail kind of thing, where they will take your data, they'll use it to make money for themselves, but they'll also sell data to make even more money, and that data will end up in the hands of scammers.
Their apps, you're giving up access to things like your location, the purchases you make on your phone, and some apps even include mini games that you'll play for extra points. But those mini games are actually designed to study your psychological habits to learn even more about your shopping style. So when you're presented with an ad or you're looking to order your next meal, the app knows exactly what to put in front of you to maximize their profit. And that decision is made by an algorithm. These algorithms are constantly taking in new information and forming opinions on you and what you're willing to spend.
And this gets really creepy when you start to think about it, because these brands have built these huge profiles on us. If I lived in Beverly Hills, I used an iPhone, I shop at Whole Foods, I make reservations at nice restaurants, and I typically take 2 to 3 vacations a year, my shopper profile would feed me higher priced goods every time. And I would buy them without a second thought. On the other hand, if I only shopped at discount stores, I'm already saving coupons, I never go out on vacation, and I rarely purchase something if it's not on sale, the algorithm will only ever feed me discounted items or lower priced goods, even if the discount was just created as an illusion to get me to buy more. In other words, with surveillance pricing, the price we see is specifically tailored to the way we buy and the price we expect to pay for things.
But don't just take my word for it, because this is actually happening around us right now. In 2019,
Let's see, after a Care 11 investigation, because of your feedback changes are coming to the Target app, watch below video, click on the app. When you use the store apps like Target, you expect that's blah, 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 but which you'll find. In a 2-month investigation that began with a concern from a viewer, they found that the Target's app changes price on certain items depending on if you are inside or outside of the store. But what if you aren't actually getting the lowest prices? For instance, Target's app price for a particular Samsung was $4.99, but when we pulled into the parking lot of the Minnetonka store, the price suddenly increased to $5.99 on the app. Wow.
An investigation showed that Target was charging $4.99 for a TV on their app. But when you pulled into a parking lot of one of their stores, the price would increase to $5.99 because the algorithm assumed you're more likely to purchase if you're already at the store. Also, in 2012, Orbitz was caught pushing Mac users to more expensive hotel options than PC users. When you would log onto the site with a Mac, the more expensive options would pop up first. The algorithm assumed that if you had a Mac, you were probably in a higher income bracket and could afford it. One study even showed that shoppers selecting fast delivery on baby formula were labeled as rushed parents and were assumed to not be price sensitive. So the algorithm would just bump up the price on baby items. But the problems don't stop with these brands just setting the prices, because these algorithms aren't actually owned by each individual brand you have an account with. They're typically third-party providers, which means your data is being collected by one brand, sent to another company, and then compiled and shared with who knows how many companies. And now they all have access to what makes you most likely to purchase and how much you're willing to pay. But because all these brands use this.
And yeah, this shit should be illegal. They need to make data scraping like this illegal. That's where it needs to start. It needs to start with data scraping like this being made illegal. No company should be allowed to scrape your data. There should not even be an opt-in or opt-out. It should be flat out illegal. Because it's only being used for nefarious purposes. The claim of, oh, we collect your data to improve your experience with us has been proven to be a lie, time and again. There is no positive use for scraping a customer's data. None whatsoever. Every claim that they've made it's to improve their service to the customer has been proven to be a lie, and this shit should be illegal. It should be illegal, and the government should basically force all of these companies to immediately cease and desist all data scraping activities. And if they're caught data scraping, they need to pay the victims millions of dollars. And yes, I know it's never going to happen. I'm fully cognizant and aware it's never going to happen. This is pipe dream stuff. I'm not an idiot. I'm very aware of this. This is just how I feel. That's why you tune into my streams, to see how I feel. This is how I feel. And Dirty Bill, thank you for the tier 1.
Same third-party providers, the algorithm also knows what every other brand is charging for the exact same thing. And in order to explain why that's a problem, we need to look at a company called RealPage. They're a software company that landlords could use for a variety of things, but specifically, it helped them determine the optimal price to rent their units out at. Similar to Dave and Willie in their grocery stores, landlords used to set their prices with a ballpark idea of what the market was willing to pay. They did this based on things they saw, heard, or observed around them. They weren't allowed to do this through agreements with one another because that would be collusion. But by using RealPage, landlords were getting pricing suggested to them. That pricing was calculated.
Basically, it was collusion through a third party that could try that they can try and possess plausible deniability. That's all it is. It's collusion with extra steps. Literally. You have a third party that all of these landlords are connected to, and this third party is collecting data on the customers and is feeding that information to these various landlords and telling them, oh, you can put this person can afford this much rent. So yeah, it's literally collusion with extra steps.
Using all the confidential data that RealPage had access to, which included all of the prices of the rental units in their area and the supply of units available. Using this information, the algorithm learned that instead of constantly decreasing prices to compete with other landlords, it could just set a higher rate for everyone and give the renters no other options. In some cases, the rental rates run by RealPage software increased by over 25% in just 11 months. Yeah. It's just like the conversation Dave and Willie had earlier about raising the price of apples to $5. If everyone raises their price,
we are not
there's nowhere else
anymore.
To go. And
you're right. We have not been humans for a very long time. Corporations do not view humans anymore. You are and always have been numbers on a spreadsheet. It's basically how corporations have viewed humanity since their inception. You have and will always be just numbers on a spreadsheet.
Customers have to pay it. But this brings us to the question. If it's an algorithm determining the prices and the landlords or companies aren't actually discussing anything, is it collusion? This has been a hot topic as AI and algorithms have completely outpaced our current laws, but the DOJ in several states did sue RealPage over anti-competitive practices, and there's currently a proposed settlement between the DOJ and RealPage that would force them to stop offering software that recommends how much to charge tenants, which is a win, but there also has been similar cases related to hotels and casino pricing that have been dismissed in court due to lack of evidence. Which leaves us in this weird twilight zone, and is part of the reason this video was so hard to make. As AI continues to advance and we continue to integrate the digital world with the physical world, how far is this all going to go? This is an electronic shelf label.
Yeah,
You've
here we
probably
go.
noticed them at stores like Best Buy or Target, and in theory, it makes it easier for stores to reprice items or change shelf layouts. But they can also be changed remotely at any time, which means it won't just be Instacart changing the pricing in the app while you're shopping, but they could update it in real time depending on who's looking at it. Kroger recently partnered with Cooler Screens, who makes those digital freezer doors we're starting to see that often have an ad on them. But the scary part is that they also have a facial detection feature in them, allowing them to change the ad on the screen depending on the age and gender of the person standing in front of it. Kroger does deny that they're using the facial recognition technology, but we can all imagine what's possible if they decide to turn it on.
Pretend you were to walk into a store tomorrow. As soon as you walk through the door, your phone pings so the algorithm knows you're in the building and immediately has all of your shopping preferences saved. As you're walking through the produce aisle, the algorithm knows you've been watching TikToks about banana bread, so the price tag on the bananas instantly increases from $1.59 to $1.99.
Leave us not forget, this is also, I was going to say, this is minority report levels of dystopia. You are 100% correct. I was going to make that very reference too. And leave us not forget, they have to access your GPS. In order for this to work, they have to access the GPS on your phone so they know when you're standing in front of a particular product in order to change the product. Because if they didn't have access to your GPS and if somebody walks in, all of a sudden all the products change just because of you. Well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. When you connect to their Wi-Fi, they have access to the GPS on your phone through the Wi-Fi. That's what I'm referencing. That is one of it's because they're not accessing your GPS necessarily through satellite or through cell phones. They're accessing your GPS through their Wi-Fi because they still need to determine where you are in relation to the store. So with his banana example, they're not going to change the prices until you're standing in front of the bananas. Because if they just change the prices because your phone hits their Wi-Fi, then it's changing the bananas for everybody. They want to do it individualized, so they're gonna have access to the GPS in your phone that is connected to their Wi-Fi in order to basically pinpoint your location within the store through the Wi-Fi and say, okay, they're standing in front of the cookie section now. We're gonna bump the cookie prices through the digital.
As you continue walking through the store, you reach the freezer aisle where the camera on the door recognizes that you're with your 15-year-old nephew, and because the algorithm also knows you've been watching Netflix on your phones, an ad pops up for the new Stranger Things Eggo Waffles collab. Not only that, but the camera also sees your 8-year-old niece who always asks your Amazon Alexa to play the songs from Frozen. So it shows a buy one, get one half off of the waffles and a Frozen-inspired
scary
ice cream
and
flavor.
dystopian.
Neither of which were things we were planning on getting when I walked in the door, but now they're in my cart and I'm spending more than I originally intended. This is just a small example of what's possible with this technology, and it's only getting smarter and better at predicting the maximum amount we are all willing to pay.
If we continue down this path, there won't be a market price anymore, and competition will basically just disappear. We would reach a state of what economists call perfect price discrimination, meaning every person will see a price that is 1 cent below the maximum amount we would pay for an item. Some people would pay $4.99 for an apple, while others would pay $1.99. And all of this is almost unavoidable. Some economists say that surveillance pricing creates a more efficient market because the price reflects real-time supply and demand on a per-person basis, but it also
creates a Big Brother
the free market. If all the stores use the same algorithm, you'll never be able to shop around for a lower price or find any real deals. It'll all just be a facade. There have been some proposed regulations that would require online and in-person stores to label things more clearly and say that they were priced by an algorithm, but all those pricing decisions we talked about are meant to be hidden from us. So how would we know if we're actually getting taken advantage of, and would we be able to enforce these new regulations? Thankfully, groups like Consumer Reports are conducting studies and investigations to dig into this, but to a certain extent, we have no idea what's actually happening. I don't think it's gonna do anything, but good. And I don't know what the perfect solution is. Do we put a stop to surveillance pricing completely?
Well, unfortunately, leaving your phone at home and shop is not going to be an option because if they have cameras that do facial recognition and your data has already been scraped and fed to them, then they're already going to have that data based on your facial recognition. So leaving your phone at home won't make a difference if they've already got your face captured, and all of your data has already been scraped. Yeah. It's sunglasses and mask. I mean, Yeah, that's an option, although facial recognition has been able to bypass masks now. Think about it. On your iPhone, there's a setting on your iPhone to unlock your phone while you're wearing a mask. That came out during COVID. iPhone instituted a facial ID add-on that you could that you could basically do facial recognition while you were wearing a mask. And if you did facial recognition for that with iPhone, you don't think that's been uploaded and data scraped? Guarantee it has been. You wearing sunglasses? You've got facial recognition now that can basically work with that can potentially work with sunglasses. Oh yeah, we are getting into we are going headlong into a state of basically it is Minority Report, as someone brought up. We are going into an age of living in Minority Report, where your face is being scanned all the time, your face is being tracked for purposes of advertising, for purposes of shopping, and it is going to be going everywhere. You are going to have like all the cameras that it's not unusual to see security cameras in every single business you go to. What's going to happen when they integrate software into those cameras to work with facial recognition, and then use the facial recognition to scrape with the data harvesting that they've purchased from data brokers to basically key into that, and then start gearing prices towards you, specifically towards you, because they have data recognized you. It's all dystopia, and honestly, we're headed for it, and I don't think there's a way to stop it.
If so, how would that be enforced? Do we set limits on price increases, or do we force every company to create their own internal pricing algorithm? I'm not really sure, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Now is your chance to subscribe, because as you saw in this video, we are trying to ramp up our production and make these videos more engaging and just more entertaining overall. I have some massive goals for the channel this year, and I'm actually headed out to the mountains this weekend to film a video that's coming up soon. I'll let you take a guess of what that might be, but I think you'll like it. So subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.
Ugh. That's some scary shit, chat. Yeah. We've known this for a long time, but we're discovering much more keenly now than ever just how much of a product we are, and just how much these companies are using our data against us. Unfortunately, we're seeing it. It's kind of scary, isn't it?